Hi, this is Michael Galyen, and welcome back to the Legal Hour podcast hosted by Bailey and Galyen. And today we are here with Corey. Corey Walker, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Corey Walker. I've been a personal trainer now for 18 years. I've just basically had a whole background field of just being in the fitness world, whether I'm training sports activities, whether I'm doing athletes, whether I'm doing the everyday person rehab. I'm just always in the gym and somehow, and I'm just glad we met up and making this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't the first time we've gotten together. I came by your gym a few weeks back and we spoke a little bit about your experience, personal training, but how that kind of intertwines with accidents and personal injuries, which is how this connection kind of happened. So, a lot of our discussion today and the questions that I want to ask you are kind of along that realm because, in my world, when I'm dealing with people who have been injured, whether that be a car wreck or a slip and fall or a workplace injury. I mean, a lot of the time we're talking about orthopedic injuries. You got your low back, you got your shoulders, sometimes your knees. A lot of those areas that, oftentimes require medical care, some physical therapy, tied into that. But on your side of things, I mean, after an injury like that, people lose a lot of muscle, they lose a lot of strength, and that's particularly, you need those things after those injuries because you're kind of having to compensate for something, right?
And that can lead to more injuries.
Exactly. So, tell us a little bit about your experience in that area and how you maybe help people that have gone through those kinds of things.
Well, for one, like I said, I went through it, but as far as helping people, I've noticed that when they're coming off of a car accident, that's already going to put their body through a ton of trauma and stress. Then they'll go through physical therapy. Physical therapy could have went through great, but by the time they come out of physical therapy, they're lacking that strength, they're lacking mobility, they've lost balance. Core strength is usually gone, and without that core strength, everything else seems to fall apart. So then my focus is just basically rebuilding their confidence, their ego, making them understand that, hey, you can do this. You're not gonna get hurt by working out, you're just gonna get stronger. And just teaching them the benefits of working out, and going in the gym, getting their cardio on, getting their strength training in, and not being afraid to do something different than what they've been doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there are situations when people don't even realize whether it's a low back injury or some type of nerve damage that they've received from, a pinched nerve in the neck or something like that that's causing all these other issues, numbness and tingling and all these things. And there are specifically a lot of medical that can be done to address those kinds of things. But I mean, they're also just strengthening, if we're talking about the legs, strengthening the muscles in there, that will help strengthening the core, especially when we're talking about low back injuries. I mean, those kinds of things that will really help people day to day, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of people, and it's not their fault, understanding that you have a kinetic chain. Everything is literally like they used to say that the neck bone's connected to the shoulder bone,
exactly.
And it literally works like that once you start understanding. So you can have a knee injury, and next thing you know, your lower back is hurting, or your shoulder's hurting, or maybe even your neck is hurting, and it's all because of this knee. And sometimes it's not medical, it's not medicine, it's more of you need to strengthen the muscles around that area. And once you start strengthening the muscles around joints, you start strengthening the muscles around the back, the shoulders, you'll notice that your posture gets better, core gets better, and as you get stronger, the core gets better. Now you're actually getting better. You're not just getting back to normal where, okay, I can walk. No, I can walk, now I can run, now I can jump. So, my job is to take you to that next level.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of where, if we're tying you into this process, somebody gets hurt, they get the medical treatment they need, maybe there's physical therapy involved. I feel like, based off our conversations, that's where you come in. Once we've reached that point where maybe they've reached what is sometimes referred to as maximum medical improvement. The doctor's saying, all right, I've done everything I can on the medical side of things, but they're not back to 100%. And that's kind of where you come in, and it's like, all right, let's address all of these other areas to get you back to 100% or maybe even better.
Yes. I mean, it's something that, like you said before, I think it's the lack of knowledge, because nowadays everything is so quick. And we're just like one thing fix it all. So a lot of people will present physical therapy as, after you do physical therapy, you're totally fine. You're totally fine from the perspective of, yes, you can go back to work and you can move normally. But most people want to get better. When I went through my injury, I just didn't want to get back to where it didn't hurt. I want to feel stronger. I want to be better. I didn't just want my knee to not hurt. I want to now be able to do more activities with it. And so I think that's just that lack of knowledge that people are not getting out there once they leave physical therapy. And then if the physical therapists or the lawyers, unlike you guys, if they don't know to help push the person to that next step, they fall off, and like you say, then they're stuck at the 70, 80%, and they just can't get back to 100%. My job is to get you to that 100%, and I'm gonna get you there through the strength training.
Right, and you brought it up that you yourself had been in an accident and kind of went through this. So yeah, so it's not just talking through your experience you've had with your clients, but it's also something you've gone through. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
And there were several. There were a few accidents. None of them were my fault. But I got hit behind by a couple of times. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I was one of those people when I used to hear people talk about having a wreck and going through all this trauma, I would be like, come on now. It's a wreck. Because I'd never been through it. I'm like, come on, it's a wreck, get over it. Once I went through the wreck and I learned, the body holds on to the stress. And that trauma, when you get hit that first day, you be like, I'm fine. Right. And it might be 3 weeks down the lane, and then bam, the back's hurting. And what I learned was when I went through it, like I said, I had to stop everything I was doing. And I am a bodybuilder. So I'm used to lifting heavy weights, chunking them around, and I had to stop all of that. That was totally different. At first, I stopped. I didn't do anything because I just had to take a break. But then I had to rebuild myself up from the ground up. And like I said, that went back to the basics where I'm back down on the ground. I'm doing my bear crawls. I'm doing my reach out meets. I'm doing my planks. These things right here are needed in order for you just to get back. And it was a road. It wasn't like I did physical therapy by myself for a month and I'm back. It took about 3 months of physical therapy. Then it took about another 3 months of building up with resistance training to get back to normal. So it took about 6 months just to get to back where I was before the wreck. And just like with any other client that I would push them to, I then wanted to push forward. I was like, okay, I don't just want to be here, I want to go forward. But it was that own self-experience of going through it to where I understand it, and now I can better understand it when somebody else is going. I understand the fear, because there is a fear after you get injured of, okay, I want to work out, but I don't want to hurt myself again. Because I've hurt this knee several times. So I don't want to hurt it again, but my job as a trainer is to get you to understand that pushing yourself and challenging that knee is actually going to get it better, safely, under guidance,
Well, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of people, and if we're just even talking generally, maybe maybe afraid isn't the right word, but to start physical therapy, they're intimidated by heavy weights and they see other people in the gym doing all these things, like you mentioned, bodybuilding, and they're like, that's so far outside of my comfort zone. But a lot of this physical therapy, I'm sorry, not physical therapy, but after the physical therapy, when you're really doing the bodybuilding or the training to get you back to where you want to be, it's a lot of body weight training. It's a lot of, like you mentioned, the bear crawls and those kinds of mobility things, and that
call it functional training.
Exactly. Right. And so it shouldn't be intimidating, is my point, right?
It should, but it's like I say, as the professional, my job is to understand that and be empathetic that it can be fearful. It's a scary thing to do, but my job is also there to reinforce the safety of it. But that's why I am a professional trainer. So it's not like we're coming in here and we're just guessing what to do. We know what to do. If we have a lower back injury, no, we're not doing squats.
Right.
We're not gonna do that. We have some hip issues. We're not gonna do lunges right now. We're gonna start off with body weight. We're gonna start off with mobility. And I like to call it functional strength training or functional movement strength training. And that's just being able to move in a functional way, but at the same time being able to do those moves with strength and endurance.
Yeah. That makes sense. And so we mentioned a few of them, and like you just said, somebody dealing with a lower back issue or knee issues, but what are some common injuries that you see people have after an accident, clients that you've maybe dealt with in the past, and how is it that you're helping them get back to where they were, or maybe get back to the next level?
Usually, like, let's say if somebody has an upper back issue. They had an upper back injury. They also sit at a desk all day, so they're kind of leaned over. So they've already don't have that much strength in their upper back.
Right.
And then that leads to, next thing you know, they say, my neck hurts. Then because the neck hurts, I'm getting headaches. So they're thinking they need to go to the doctor to work on the headache. What we really need to do is we need to strengthen your upper back. We need to strengthen your front side. So we start working on shoulders. Shoulders support the neck. We start working on shoulders. We start working on traps. We start working on rear delts. We start working on your upper back, your upper latimus dorsis. And all of a sudden now, and I've literally seen it, a person who didn't want to lift weights, we're like a month and a half, 2 months later, and they're like, I notice I sit up straight. When I hold my kid now, I'm not tired. I can hold weight in the front of me and my back doesn't hurt. That's all because we had to strengthen those areas. And that just, and it always goes back to just strength training. It's literally, and it's not about, as a lot of people, I got to come in here and pick up 300 pounds. No. It's picking up the appropriate weight, doing it with the correct form for the reps that you need to do. Because there's no competition. We don't need to do what they're doing. We need to do what this person needs to do. Once they understand it, they grow a lot more confidence, and then you start to see them fall in love with the process. Then it gets easy.
Yeah. Well, and you also make a good point about picking up the correct weights, doing the right workouts. I mean, there's so much misinformation, I would say, or there, maybe not even misinformation, but there's too much information out there. It depends on that individual, their body, their injury, and getting with a professional like you to guide them through that process is will likely lead to better results because you could tailor the workouts for them.
It's all customized.
Right.
It's all customized, and you get the customization by learning the person's history. We don't just walk in here and work out. What have you been dealing with? What was bothering you after the wreck? What bothered you before the wreck? Have you been working out? Have you been active? All these things play into it. Most of the time, they haven't been doing much.
Right.
And then I actually love it though. I love it when somebody hasn't been working out because then I can help build you up from the ground up. I don't have to fight anything that you knew before. You're just ready to learn and go. And I will say 99% of the time it turns out good. Like it's very rare that somebody tries to do something that's gonna make them better and it leads to a negative result. That's very rare. Just you coming, if you're just coming in here and we're just getting in here getting you on the Stairmaster, a month later you're gonna feel better just from doing that. Then just think about when we actually do customized, targeted workouts for whatever issue you're dealing with, that's when you start seeing the tremendous growth. And it's always available. I just love what I do because you'll get people who'll be like, I don't know, I'm scared, I don't know. And then when you get them in here and they do it, it's literally like a flower that's blossoming and then they just take off. And next thing you know, they want to do all the crazy stuff in the gym now because now they like, I'm strong enough, let's push it. And that's what personal training, professional training gets you outside of physical therapy. That's not to say to skip physical therapy.
Yeah.
Because that place, you need that. Like they need to do what they need to do, and then once you get through there, send them over my way, and then we get them right.
Right, and that's a good point to kind of tie this all back in that, you know, yes, if medical care is required after the wreck, you do your medical care. If the doctor recommends physical therapy, you do your physical therapy. But we're not talking about just getting you back to maximum medical improvement or whatever term you want to use. We're talking about getting you back to 100% if possible, or even past that. Maybe this is what you needed, the kick in the rear end, to get you in the gym, to get you to a better place than maybe you were before.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. Like I say, it's just getting them there. It really is. I've been doing it now 18 years, and my average client that I sign up, it's about 2 to 6 weeks of talking and going back and forth before they actually say, okay, I'm ready to start. It's not the money, it's not the schedule. Sometimes it's those things, but most of the time it's just simply they're like, I don't want to start then quit, or I don't know if I can do it. And that's I understand that you don't know if you can do it because you never tried it. But the good thing about working with a professional is it's gonna work. Somebody gets in a car wreck, I don't know what to do. That's why they come to you guys. Like, no, we know exactly what to do. We like, you just put it in our hands. We're gonna take it from there. We're gonna help you out and guide you at the steps to make. But if you don't ever get a lawyer, you don't know what you're missing out on, like what they can take care of for you.
Right, that's a very good point. You know, you mentioned, or we talked about, some people are intimidated to start personal training. I mean, it's the same thing we see with clients after they've been in a wreck and they never have before. They don't know where to start. And so, yeah, maybe they're intimidated about calling a lawyer and starting that whole process.
Then they've heard horror stories from other people with bad situations and they think it's gonna happen here, and it's like, no.
Right, exactly. So no, I mean, we're dealing with the same thing in a different issue, but ultimately, you know, whether it's hiring an attorney after you've been in the accident or ultimately doing the training you need to get you back to 100%, they should be easy decisions, but I understand they're big decisions to make. So whether, you know, you're reaching out to Corey on the personal training route or reaching out to myself and Bailey and Galyen for a personal injury attorney, I mean, those are important decisions, but ultimately I'd say the right decisions to make following an accident like that. Well, that's been another episode of the Legal Hour podcast with Corey Walker. Corey, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, brother.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll continue having these discussions because I always love coming by the gym. I mean, maybe the next time I won't be in a suit.
This will be the new thing. That's what we'll do. Yeah. You come in a suit and we work out.
Yeah.
You come straight from now. You don't even have to train. You don't have to change your clothes. Just wear this.
Exactly. I need to get with a tailor who can make something for this, and we'll the next video, the next podcast, we're gonna do it while we're running on treadmills. So look out for that one.